Bah. Bah.
Black sheep.
Okay, we've got no battery left. Does that mean that it's... We haven't got time. Welcome to the next emergency broadcast, number 10 now.
Do you count?
Yeah.
Impressive.
Because the last one was number 9.
Okay.
This week, what are we talking about, Christopher?
Sorry, I just about to have a drink of beer. Tony Mandarich.
Tony Mandarich, number 77 for the Green Bay Packers. What is that? It is his jersey. The Rawlings, 1980s, early 90s, I believe is the time frame we're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
1989 NFL draft. Am I correct, Christopher?
Absolutely correct. The Incredible Bulk, as he was named by Sports Illustrated magazine once, and then later on, the Incredible Bust. It's noteworthy, the 89 draft, because out of the top 5 selections in which Tony Mandarich was selected number 2, all of the other 4 went to the Hall of Fame. They were, Hugh.
Let's see if I can do this without looking behind me. Barry Sanders.
Correct.
His long-lost brother, Deion Sanders.
Correct.
Troy Aikman.
Very good.
Derrick Thomas.
Very good, Hugh.
Hey.
Squeezed those out of him, almost like you didn't hang those jerseys up yourself. Yes, I know we've talked about draft bust before, but this guy's making Ryan Leaf look like Kurt Warner, okay? This guy is a bigger bust.
Okay, we're going to crowbar this in. Okay. Okay, great. Chris has written a funny joke and he wants to say it.
He's such an immense bust, he makes Pamela Anderson look like an ironing board.
Put it on a penguin bar.
I'm disappointed in myself.
Put it in a Christmas cracker.
So, let's start at the beginning. Okay, so Tony Mandarich played ball at Michigan State. He was drafted by, at that time, defensive backs coach and future greatest college football coach of all time, Mr.
Nicholas Saban.
He was said to be the best offensive lineman coming out of college that there'd ever been.
Well, because he was massive, wasn't he?
He was absolutely huge. Offensive linemen before Tony Mandarich never needed to use their arms. They were like Tyrannosaurus Rexes. They were blocking without the use of their arms.
Hey, whoa, what?
Tyrannosaurus Rexes didn't use their arms for anything.
No, that's fine. I'm not talking about how Tyrannosaurus Rexes work. I'm talking about how people are blocking without their arms.
If you go back and watch any 70s or 80s footage, as I'm sure you all do, we do, you'll notice that the offensive and defensive line up opposite each other, and then when the whistle blows, they literally just run into each other.
Shunt each other.
They run into each other, and it was the more powerful runner, aka the Hogs, that could bully their way through the defensive line that led to the great offensive lines of the Redskins era.
But why would they
through 91?
No, don't use your arms. For what reason? Because it would be holding.
Right. So they got that out of the way.
In any way.
Yeah. You had to use.
Absurd.
So, in an effort to minimize concussions, the NFL said, "We'll let you use your arms."
I'm an offensive lineman in 1989. I'm very undersized, and I'm going to the combine. I'm not going to bother with the bench press because it makes no.
We are so low on battery. I think we should look for batteries.
Okay, we'll look for batteries, and we'll be back.
We're back.
We're back. Can you open that for me? We'll cut to another commercial break. And we're back.
Cheers. Fucking hell, taking our time. Michigan State, that's right. Nick Saban has just recruited Tony Mandarich to come and be their offensive tackle.
Yeah.
At the time, the head coach was George Pearls, who was a defensive coordinator for the Steelers during their Super Bowl runs during the 70s, and he said that this guy, as a junior, could have played on any of those Super Bowl teams.
Presumably he was just as massive at college than he was in the NFL.
Interesting word to use because, yes, he was large, but the reason for that is up for debate. Initially, he said it was because he ate 15,000 calories a day and
Well, that'll do it.
apparently needed 2 shopping carts to handle the haul at the supermarket for his 49 meals a week.
If only there was some way we could know what exact items and quantity of those items he put in that cart.
We have Tony Mandarich's weekly shopping list
I
here.
don't know how you find this shit.
A lot of people say this.
Let's have some highlights. Give me some highlights of Tony Mandarich's shopping list.
2 cans of nacho cheese dip
Get it in.
every week. 2 dozen eggs, 4 dozen loaves of Italian bread, 3 pounds of dinner rolls. That's just the bread.
That's just the bread and cheese. What meals is he cooking?
24 bananas, which I believe is enough to give you potassium poisoning. 2 pounds of Italian sausage, 2 pounds of mozzarella, 1 dozen granola bars, 8 ounces of cream cheese, 3 pounds of canned pineapple, 3 pounds of hot dogs, 3 pounds of chili sauce, 4 gallons of orange juice, 4 gallons of cranberry juice.
But none of these ingredients can make a meal.
4 pounds of rice-a-roni, 2 pounds of rigatoni, 2 pounds of peas. cheese. 32 slices of American cheese, a pound of bagels. We weren't done with breads.
2 slices of American cheese.
15.5 pounds of steak.
Oh my God. Just bring a cow in. Just bring me the whole cow.
4 pounds of ground turkey and 6 pounds of ground beef. So he's got over 13 stone of meat alone.
It would be much easier and quicker to get this man a farm.
So, we think he's just a big fatty.
He's just a walking abattoir.
But during his Michigan State career, he was known as the Doctor because of how well he could inject steroids into his body. We have him taking, and here's a list, we've got the shopping list also of steroids. Winstrol V, Equipoise, which if I'm not mistaken is a horse steroid. Anadrol 50, testosterone, Anavar, Dianabol. So those are all the steroids he was taking, and the way he got around the drugs test, he got drug tested 3 times while he was there, before the bowl games and before the combine, is that he had a catheter running down his back, under his grundle, under the underside of the seam of the penis, and apparently he used to put bubble gum at the tip and had clean piss in the thing, and so when he got piss tested he used to take the bubble gum cap off and all this clean piss would flow from the camel back on his shoulder down, and he got away with it.
That's insane. The length. What? Wait, I'll cut this out, but explain that to me one more time.
Under his grundle, the seam of the penis, bubble gum at the tip. This is like another masterclass.
It's like a weird magic trick.
So that leads us, well, back to Tony Mandarich. Using his incredible size, he used to dominate college football opponents to the point where, do you know what no mass means? An NM?
No.
It's a stat, right? It's a stat for defensive players, which means no mas, which is Spanish for no more, which means they literally tapped out against facing him in the game.
What, they were just like,
they were just like, I can't beat him, take me out of the game. Right, this guy apparently during a coin toss one time punched an Ohio State man in the face, a captain, and said, I'm going to kill you today. He apparently also used to pancake people into the end zone and then say, stay there.
This guy's a beast.
Yeah, he was an absolute beast. Had a massive attitude problem, which we'll get onto.
Oh, did he? He punched a man at a coin toss.
Well, he was also known for saying, I'm not like the other players. I'm Tony Mandarich. And they have to understand that. If they don't like it, that's just the way I am, and they're going to have to learn to like it.
He said that to the Safeway clerk with 6 shopping trolleys full of cheese and bread.
Yeah. Anyway, so it gets to the 1989 draft. Kansas City Chiefs, who as we know in hindsight take Derrick Thomas, are interested in Mandarich.
Yeah.
So apparently he goes out to dinner with Schottenheimer.
And they're there for 6 hours as he devours the menu. Yeah. Are we having starters?
2.5 pounds of strawberries, 3 whole pineapples.
He just hands that list over
to the maitre d'.
And Marty Schottenheimer's like, we're going to be here for a while.
So Carl Peters and Marty Schottenheimer took him out to dinner.
I guarantee Marty Schottenheimer was dressed head to foot in drip. That man could dress himself. Picture. Another picture and another picture.
So apparently they asked him straight up, "Are you on steroids?" They weren't buying
That's a fair question.
They weren't buying the 15,000 calories. We've seen you burying the 45 chickens in your garden. So they said, "You're on steroids, aren't you?" And he said, "I've never failed a drugs test." We all know why. Not a lie. Because Captain Bubblicious and Schottenheimer looked him straight in the eye and apparently said, "You're lying." Well, let's get to the draft. Let's look at some measurables. Now, bear in mind, bench press is now important, right? So bench press has never been a factor for offensive linemen before.
Why is that? Because how are they blocking Chris?
So let's look at his measurables. He had on the bench press at 225, 39 reps.
And here's where Hugh's facts come into their own. Can you hold up your sheet of facts, the amount of research?
Well, most of it's the shopping list, I'm not going to lie.
I have done this much.
That's basically a summary of NBL work in a nutshell.
39 reps? That's more than Aaron Donald.
Who wasn't at the time competing against him.
I do want to stress that Aaron Donald was not competing against him as a 2-year-old boy.
He ran the 40 in 4.69 seconds.
Which is as... yeah. 4.65?
9.
Oh, well, my facts are wrong. I've literally done 4 facts, and they're all wrong.
You mean to tell me the wealth of information and research on that one crinkled post-it?
This is less impressive now. 0.04 slower than EJ Manuel. Again, not a great.
What sort of a reference is that?
That
renowned quick fleet of foot
his
Bills quarterback.
Speed, EJ Manuel. 30-inch vertical. That is the same as OJ Howard. This man is, what, 6 foot something? 6'5" plus.
308 pounds.
308 pounds, and he's just jumped as high as OJ Howard.
Now, obviously, most fan bases would be licking their lips at the prospect of drafting Mr. Mandarich. Unfortunately, not so much in Green Bay, as before the draft, he referred to Green Bay as a tiny village that he didn't want to go and live in. Unfortunately, he got drafted there and had to go to the tiny village. If he'd just come out and said that, my apologies, I'm really happy to be there. Cheeseheads, maybe they would have had a little bit of sympathy. Unfortunately, he decided to hold out until the day before training camp for over $1 million a year, making him the highest paid offensive lineman to never have played a snap of football. On the first practice, Tim Harris, defensive end at the Packers, blew past him in the first drill, apparently, according to people watching, like a knife through butter. And then as he was standing over him, while Mandarich was lying on the ground, he said, "I can't believe we paid you $1 million a year," and then walked off.
Oh, Tony. That is so funny.
I know. What isn't funny, though, is painkiller addiction. And unfortunately, after giving up the juice from college, because apparently he was warned that NFL...
Because they were checking the underside of people's penises in the NFL.
You laugh, but literally.
What, the Packers, like, saw him strapping this weird willy douche to his bag.
Anyway, so he gives up the juice, doesn't need it anymore, because at this point he's as bald as a coot and has a 15-year-old boy's acne all over his arms. He's done his deed with the juice, so he moves on to painkillers. Apparently he had 6 or 7 doctors in different states around Wisconsin to keep getting him prescriptions. And apparently he was using painkillers 6 or 7 times a day, even going to the toilet during practice to administer them. This is when you were injecting painkillers.
Right.
So he used to hide in his jockstrap a full injection kit.
The amount of stuff this man has in his jockstrap.
I know, it's like Inspector Gadget. He says he wasn't clear-eyed or clear-headed the entire time he was in Green Bay.
Which was 3 years.
Then he got dropped because of his drug addiction, and then he spent 2 years just basically abusing drugs and alcohol in Traverse City, Michigan. But in 1995, in March, he checked himself into the Brighton Hospital Chemical Dependency and Mental Health Treatment Center in Brighton, Michigan.
Oh, good for him. So he's played for the Packers for 3 years, played terribly.
He was on special teams for his entire first year. This was the highest paid offensive lineman to that point in NFL history, played special teams only his first year.
And then they stuck him on the line second and third year and he just didn't hold any water.
In 1996, he rejoins the league with the Indianapolis Colts.
Do you know how that happened?
No.
No.
Do you?
No, I don't. I'd just love to know if, like, why you reach out to, like, the Tony Mandarich dude, the Jamarcus Russell, where he came back and he was like, you know, very publicly doing workouts, or did the Colts go, do you remember that guy who was absolutely massive? Do you reckon we can get a couple of seasons out of him?
No, he played with Harbaugh in Indianapolis. He actually did fine. He stayed clean. And in his final season, he played for 2 years. He started all 16 games of his final season and is currently a photographer.
Oh, great. Good for him.
Yep.
So,
here's what happened. If Tony Mandarich hadn't been the incredible bust, that would have meant that Green Bay wouldn't have changed their GM. They wouldn't have brought in Ron Wolf. That means that Ron Wolf wouldn't have hired Mike Holmgren. That means Mike Holmgren wouldn't have traded for Brett Favre, wouldn't have brought in Reggie White.
yeah.
Do Green Bay become the team that they are now? Could we not say that this man right here is the bedrock upon which the foundation for the Church of Aaron Rodgers has been built?
Yeah, I'd say that's almost exactly what we're saying.
And it was only until he released his autobiography, I believe it's called My Dirty Secrets, Drugs, Alcohol and God.
Spot the odd one out. Yeah, I think that's the really bad thing, is that he lied and he was doing drugs.
Yeah, this is not Mike Mamula, okay? This is not someone that didn't do drugs, trained for the combine, got drafted high because of the effort he put in, and then was a bust. This guy straight up just bullshitted his way into the richest offensive lineman contract in the history of the NFL at the time.
And then played like hot garbage.
He played like 6 cans of spaghetti sauce.
We'll sign off, do all the usual stuff, and I'll put up the shopping list as if it's credits. So this has been the National Vintage League Emergency Broadcast number 10 about Tony Mandarich, the man who was made out of bread and butter. and meat.
Drugs.
And drugs, so many drugs. A man who connected a wee shoot from the centre of his back, attached to the bottom of his penis with bubble gum, and fooled the NCAA, but not the eagle-eyed Packers.
I think if you go back and check the footage, during the last 2 seconds, my face realised that I was also a man made out of bread and butter and drugs.
Stay indoors.
No, stay alert.
Stay alert.
Remember, we've got to adjust. Stay alert.
Stay alert.
Control the virus.
Control the virus.
And
love your mother.
Wash your hands, save lives.
We'll do
Very
this again.
confusing what the government's asking us to do
I
at the
know.
moment.
So yeah, just love what you do, man. That's all we're here for. So hot. It is so hot. We need to stop now. That's all we've got.
Till the next time.
Bread and butter.